Historically, leading up to an election, voters are usually told that taxes won't be increased, only to find out shortly after an election the taxes go up. If you were elected mayor, what would you do to bring in more revenue aside from raising taxes? And if you do raise taxes, how do you plan to allocate and prioritize the tax dollars to provide the most basic services and pay down debt?
Taxes, obviously a very, very important issue. Let me start by saying a conversation that I had last week with Alicia Walton, who lives on Jefferson, who is here as well. And she's a lifelong resident of Jersey City, a lifelong resident of the Heights, and a former employee of Jersey City. She's a senior citizen, she's on fixed income, and she is terrified if the current administration gets reelected, because she would say it best that what am I supposed to do? Get a job at Dunkin' Donuts as a senior citizen? A job at Duane Reade? It's not gonna happen. Now the reality is that there are a couple things that she points out that are very, very true and just facts. That if you look at the last two elections in 2005 and 2009, exactly what you said is true. Taxes were stable. Directly after the election, taxes went up 20%. That is a fact, okay? Number two, under the current administration, taxes have gone up 90%. What I can tell you for certain, and I think everybody on this panel can agree with this one fact, that your house value has not gone up 90%. Yeah. Number three, there is a revow coming that this administration voluntarily asked for. And if you look back in the history books, the Heights was one of the parts in the last revow that was hit the hardest. Now I tell you this, the mayor and I have a disagreement as far as this revow goes, but if the revow was going to be a good thing for you, I assure you it would have been done before the election, not postponed till after the election, okay? Now look, we have a...
Please hold your applause.
We have a plan that will do number one. Auditing the tax abatements more aggressively. We've started it this year. We found $11 million of money that was uncollected from tax abatements, many of which were donors over the course of the years. That's money that you are all entitled to. We need to be doing that and be doing that more aggressively. Number two is enforcing illegal housing, what we talked about. There is easy another $10 million. The mayor said $8 million. I might think $10 million. If we split it, he said earlier, we'll say $9 million, but there is money there to go after. Again, that is money that you are entitled to, that you are subsidizing. And then finally, if you think about simple things like some of the contracts from City Hall, the revow contract went to the former business administrator 2 months after he left. It's a $4 million contract that he was involved on the other side of the conversation for. If you think about little things like that, that is $25 million. You are entitled to that. That is money that is not hard to find. So there are things that you can do as far as cutting costs and finding revenues in order to make the Heights and Jersey City a better place to live. Thank you.
First of all, Steve, that is not true. The contract was not given to Brian O'Reilly. The contract was given to a concern out of West New York who submitted by far the lowest bid. It was a local company who knew our city. He brought Brian O'Reilly on for maybe a month to help him get rolling. He does not work for that firm anymore, nor was he given that contract, okay? Number one. Number two, you talked about, you're worried about the taxes. Well, Steve, if you're worried about taxes, and that entails money coming into the city coffers, why did you, about 2 years ago, vote no on the transfer of an abatement from Company A to Company B, which transfer netted us, the citizens of Jersey City and the coffers of our city, $2.8 million. If you're so worried about money and taxes flowing into the city, Steve, why also about 2 years ago, when we moved all of our employees from Plan A to Plan B for their health care and saved a lot of money, and then we were going to roll all of our retirees into that same plan, which would have saved us $3.4 million every year, Steve. Why did you vote no on that? And your vote was followed by your folks on the council, and it cost us a 6-month delay until it was finally passed. And when it was passed, by virtue of that 6-month delay, everyone in this room paid $1.7 million because of that 6-month delay directly attributable to you. Why, Steve, also, when we had a whole host of retirees, cops, firemen, and other folks, and we have to pay their health benefits, Steve, and we proposed a bond issue over the course of 5 years to pay the $9 million out. And you guys said, no, make it 3 years. Well, we made it 3 years. By the way, the interest rate in that bond issue was 1.2%. It's almost giving away the money. You voted no on that, and you forced us to put that $9 million payout for all of those retirees into 1 year. If you're so worried about taxes, Steve, why did you do all of those things? What we're doing is being business friendly, investment friendly in this city, and we want people to come to this city and invest and build and do businesses. And that's our only shot at survival.
Thank you.
Okay, before I come up with my plan, but what I will do with these tax situations and the budget, I will have a brief comment about Mr. Councilman Fuller and the Mayor. First of all, I would like to say that I have no hesitation in saying in front of the Mayor who is sitting next to me and in front of all these respectable audiences that we have been having an ineffective and inefficient Mayor and a broken government who does not take care, who is out of touch and out of reality and out of the facts on the ground. And at the same time, we have a councilman over here who is a major challenger for this situation, who says something different while he's sitting on the council, and he does exactly opposite while he is in a closed door. And he's the only council member I'm saying Mr. Councilman Steve Fuller. He's the only councilman who voted almost 75% time on the council for no. So what this strategy is? So that with that my said, I would like to say that I will reduce taxes as far as the budget is. We will, as a mayor, I will improve the budget situation. How I will do it? Number one, we will restructure and reorganize the city government. We will abolish or reduce the size of unnecessary departments, and we will abolish those departments who have overlapping programs and services. This will save us millions of dollars. Number two, what we will do, we will look into all the abatements, and I will audit all the abatements in respect of that who was behind that and who supported it, who didn't support it. All the abatements will be audited. Secondly, we will have the autonomous agencies also abolished and merged with the other agencies. Then we will have a system of open and competitive bidding so that the citizens should know that what is the best for them and their government is providing them with the best services. And lastly, I will give you one example that how our citizens and we all together are suffering. For example, each and every one, the homeowner sitting over here, they know that their water and sewer bills are very, very high. And every time, every year, they are going persistently higher and higher. Why? Because there was no competitive and open bidding process. There was only one company whom the city gave the contract, and they have nothing to worry that there is any competition, and they raise the bills whenever and whatever they want.
Thank you.
Well, taxes and the revow. Well, since the last revow in Jersey City was 1988, and at that time, the average price of a house was $75,000. And what it is a complicated situation because it's 3 levels to it. It's 1/3 of the people, taxes going to remain the same. 1/3 of the people, taxes is going to go up, and 1/3 of the people, taxes is going to go down. So how are we going to come to the conclusion on who taxes go down? That's the real question. And also with taxes, one of the things I do know is it's a popular thing to say that you're not going to raise taxes, but the only way you won't raise taxes is balancing your budget. And one of the things that I do have experience in balancing the budget. The last 17 years I had a youth program, Team Walker, Grassroots. We serve over 500 kids. We have a lot of stuff that goes on, and I have to balance the budget every year. And one of the things that, being from Jersey City in my humble background, being a part of the whole Pop Curry legacy and 16 kids and all that. We come from a humble background. And one of the things that we understand is how to stretch a dollar. Okay? Most people in my community can make $20 work, but the government, City Hall, can't make $600 million work. I just don't understand that. And one of the things that we're looking to do is, you know, if it's not necessary, we're not going to use it. We're going to take some strong looks at the different departments, and we're going to take some strong looks at how the money is being spent. And that's the deal with taxes. You just got to spend within your means. That's it. You got to spend it within your means. And we all know there's been a lot of cuts throughout the country, not just Jersey City, throughout the country. On the federal and state level, we just got to understand how to get the business community to pick up some more of this slack. And once again, you got to have relationships. So part of my administration is we want to build a committee of the CEOs on the waterfront, once again, to talk about these sort of issues. And we got to think about how many years we give an abatement. Because, you know, giving an abatement for 40 years, I mean, God knows I'm going to be here for 40 years. I wish I am. You know, God willing, I'll be here. But, you know, how could you give an abatement for 40 years? I mean, why not 10? That's a realistic number so we can renegotiate and try to get the top dollar that we can get. Most politicians in Jersey City will take credit of waterfront, but in reality, geographically, we're in the right place.
Thank you. As mayor, what would be your plan to introduce organized activities for teens in the city? How will you ensure that teens can afford and get to any programs that the city provides?
First of all, we have a whole host of after-school programs in our city. When we came into this situation as mayor about 8-9 years ago, there were 50 youngsters participating in the Police Activities League. Right now, there are about 1,000 youngsters participating. We have a PAL football program that is open to all of our youngsters down at Caving Point, and that program is doing great. Our youth football teams are winning games, and they're preparing themselves for the next level, high school. And by virtue of that program, certainly Lincoln has benefited by seeing a pretty noticeable improvement in our teams. Some of those youngsters have gone to Don Bosco and been recruited by other schools, St. Peter's Prep. So we have a whole host of programs for our youngsters. And our recreation department, headed by Joe Mackey, does a wonderful job, and we want to expand it. But we have a swimming program for the last couple of years in our pools in Jersey City. And I believe that's a very important life skill for all of our youngsters. How many kids in our city, or all of our cities, have trouble mastering that skill? So we're doing that right now, and we wish to expand all of those programs. I go to the PAL football games. We go to the basketball games for our high schools, and we have after-school programs which will run at the YMCA at 654 Bergen Avenue. We have a sheriff's program. It's called the GREAT program, whereby police, corrections officer, prosecutors officers, Hudson County Sheriff's Office, and U.S. Marshals actually go around to our youngsters on a regular basis in all of our public schools, and they set an example. They provide a role model for our youngsters, and the program is very successful. In fact, it lives up to its name, the GREAT program. So we're constantly pushing for our youngsters. You know, we have Little League, we have Babe Ruth minor leagues. All 4 of my youngsters walked down the block and played every sport you could think of under the sun at Pershing Field. And we have to get the information out to the families that these programs are available.
Thank you.
Let me start by saying, let me reference quickly a coach for one of the larger Little Leagues in Jersey City who pointed out to me that many of the recreation programs in Jersey City end at 16 years old. And he pointed out the fact that he had 2 children that he was coaching that were likely to go on to college as, even though they didn't have money, they were likely to go on because they were to get money for the college because they were very talented. And during that time between the recreation department ended and the opportunity to move forward, both were victims of crime. One was shot and one was stabbed. okay? And it changed this individual's life, and it changed my life just hearing him talk about it. When you think about the education system in Jersey City, which is a passion of mine, and the recreation department, those are two things that really need to be linked together because we're looking to service the same 30,000 children. Now, when you look at the school system today, there's a couple of realities. There's 35 out of 40 failing schools. You have 7% of the children, excluding Mayoral, that were college ready, that graduated last year. You have 30% dropout rate, and you have a recreation department budget that was cut in this year's budget, or not this year's budget, over the course of the last 4 years in this administration from 4 million to 3 million approximately. So you're looking at roughly a 25% cut on that sort of things. You look at a budget and I could show you and you could know what the person's priorities are. So when you're cutting recreation like that, it speaks volumes. Now, number one is we've put forward a plan that opens the schools and partners with the Board of Education to have the schools open later. And when we're talking about recreation opportunities after school programs, we're not only talking about athletics, we're talking about art opportunities, we're talking about other skills, we're talking about other things outside of just athletics because different children have different needs. And number two, I sponsored 4 years ago, it was detailed in the Jersey Journal, the mayor and his allies on city council opposed it, to have some of the money from the tax abatements go towards the schools because it's necessary, and that would allow us to fund at no additional cost for you those recreation facilities to be open later. Then finally, there is money and there's an opportunity as far as looking at where we can merge departments as far as overlapping to fund recreational departments. So if you look at something like the information technology department between the city, the Board of Education, the library, there's overlapping opportunities as far as dollars go that those money could be put to better use to give programming to people like yourself. So look, there are opportunities to expand it, to work with the Board of Education, and there's ways to fund it, which I just outlined. Thank you.
Thank you.
The difference between me and the gentleman on the stage here today is actually I do this every day in terms of youth development. This is a passion of mine. This is something I've been doing the last 17 years. It's something that's been in my family over 60 years. One of my plans is to have recreation department work in a way where using teamwork as a model, where academics come first and athletics come second. And one of the things we do understand is, my logo is a circle with people in the middle, and underneath is the same, improving your mind, body, and soul. And one of the things that we're looking to do is to make sure the kids have extended daycare, care for school to support the academics, because one of the things we do know is most of the kids in our school system is playing what we call a catch-up game. And we have to have the gyms open longer than what we have them open currently. When I was growing up in Jersey City, Steve, we had recreation football. It was throughout the whole city. It wasn't just this PAL. It was the Heights. It was the Bergen Coast. It was the Lafayette Lions. You know, it was the Midtown. It was different teams throughout the whole city. So it was a sense of community then, and we had a lot of kids participate, and that's what we need to get back to. We need to use the recreation department. We need to identify one person from the recreation department to cover each area and get the kids engaged again. When you ride by the courts of the city parks, it's hardly any kids there anymore because we're not really engaging them in a proper manner. And one of the things I know the people in the Heights want to do is improve upon up in the Riverside, the park over here. They want to change the playground into the basketball facility, which I support because one of the major things I'm in support of is youth development, and that's a big part of it. If the kids have a safe place and safe haven place to go, that would be great. And what I'm doing currently, I'm building a community center, a learning center, right on the Bergen Lafayette community, right on the corner of Holiday and Lafayette Street. Currently, right now, this is what I'm doing, a learning center. It's not a gymnasium, it's classrooms, because we understand the number one thing is academics, okay? And we understand academics is the way where our neighborhood is going to change, period, okay? And it has to be a collaborative effort. It can't be, pointing fingers. It's got to be everybody. It's got to be the old saying, it takes a village. I believe in that.
Okay, before I go on to my plan, I will have few comments. First of all, with due respect to Mayor sitting next to me, I would ask him that whatever he has mentioned, where are the results? Number one. Number two, let's come to passionate Steve Fulham. Councilman your role, you said that you have passion for education. I'm sorry to say I do not only disagree, I object your passion. I believe that as a decent person, we should have courtesy to stay and say what is truth and what we really do in our, practical life and in closed doors. I had an opinion written in Jersey Journal recently, and I have the copies outside, which I will appreciate that every participant, every resident over here, please have a copy of that and keep a look into that. Mr. Phillips says that he has a passion for this one. As a matter of fact, he has a passion only for power. He wants more and more power so that he should help the cronies and he should help the dirty money donors that he has been sponsored with and who pamper him and who has been advising him. Now let's talk to Mr. Walker. Mr. Walker, he says that he runs a popular program. Let me give you some facts. For 2 months, he gets $178,000 or $9,000 for provide services for 2 months in school in summer program. Whereas only for himself, he gets $30,000 salary for 2 months. $20,000 salary for his support counselor. $20,000 salary for the director.
What?
The question is on youth and education.
I clearly understand.
Audience, please.
I clearly understand, but I also have to mention about those facts which the people claim which the facts are not true. So,
Dr. Malik, this is a forum.
My program
is.
I appreciate. Okay, I'm coming to the point.
Thank you.
My program will be, first of all, as I said, I will restructure, reorganize the government. I will audit all the abatements. I will try to save the money wherever and however I can save. And I will work with the Board of Education because I believe that education is a passion, it's a service, it's our future of our children. And we cannot and we could not do the business or the politics in this situation. And we have to provide better after-school programs, better recreation program, and at the same time, what we will do, that we will enforce the discipline so that everybody will be held accountable.
Parks and open space are important to our residents in the Heights. How do you propose finance for the creation, renovation, and maintenance of our parks? If elected, would you support the creation of a Jersey City Open Space Trust Fund, or do you have an alternative plan?
I absolutely have a trust fund for that. I think open space is very important. This is something that I know the Heights people used to fight for daily. And one of the things that we're looking to do is to clean up the open space. It took quite a long time for the site down and on the PPG site to get cleaned up. We finally got that to come to fruition. And I lived in that community, and the open space is a real issue. Well, it's not too much a big issue, but it's the vacant land that's more of an issue. And we have to take a real look at that. We have to try to come up with a plan where we could turn this open space vacant land into affordable units. Because what's happening now, gentrification is a real word in Jersey City at this point. There's a lot of people that ain't gonna be able to afford it in a matter of years if we don't come together as a community and understand what goes on. And the open space is something that's dear to my heart because it's recreational facilities as well. We don't have enough of that. We have Cameron Point. We needed, growing up, we had Roosevelt Stadium. We had different open space that we could do certain activities and have these sort of football teams that I talked about earlier. And one of the things that we're looking to do, once again, is build relationships with the businesses in Jersey City to have put together a committee to talk about these sort of issues, and so we could have them sort of folks on the waterfront that's saving on their tax dollars with the abatements to kick in and give us the dollars that we need to create opportunities in these open space and clean them up as well. Jersey City is a city of a lot of different landfills and different stuff. It was a dumping ground at one point, and we gotta make sure that it's healthy as well. We have to do studies throughout the city on what's actually going on. And it's just not the PPG sites, it's other sites. And we want to put together a real plan to address these matters.
Thank you.
Parks and open space are the essence of a good quality of life. But it does not mean that we should have parks, but they're deserted, they're abandoned, broken, benches, no benches, or they are the part of the site for the gangsters. What my plan is that all these parks, everywhere, in each and every part of the Jersey City, they should be redeveloped, and there should be a safety and security situation that should be implemented over there. And we should engage with the communities to keep that parks and these areas in the best of their shape, so that everybody and our children should have the good opportunity to enjoy a play outside of their homes. But at the same time, I would like to say that we should also keep in mind that these gang activities and the drug dealers, when they find the parks deserted, no security over there, and no people coming there, they find a better place for their activities. So we have to also, and which I will have a plan with the cooperation of the police department, to launch an extensive and major offensive and crackdown against the gangs as well as the drug dealers, and make the parks, these places, as safe as possible, so that our children and our adults should have a peaceful time when they get and enjoy and relax over there. And they need not to worry that somebody or someone may harm them in any way. So I believe that the parks, and also these parks are a beauty, a sort of our attraction of our city. So we cannot and we should not, and I will not ignore them. Rather, I will allocate more funding to keep them in a proper shape, to provide them a good opportunity for our children for recreation as well as for security. And I will engage and encourage the communities also to be a part of this, to make and look their neighborhoods a great place to live. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, let me start by saying something that I never thought I would say. I agree with a lot of Mr. Malik's comments there. Let me say this, that park maintenance and parks are essential to quality of life, and not only having additional parks, but maintaining the ones that we have is equally as important. I think about the fact that one of the council candidates that's running with me, Danny Rivera, who ran the Roberto Clemente Little League, and I mentioned earlier, he was telling me the fact that he collected 45 syringes off of Enos Jones Parks, him and other coaches, and brought them to the Jersey City Fire Department before one of the games one day. And that speaks to kind of park maintenance in our city. When you think about that, some of the basic playground areas that you can bring your children to in the Heights over here, you do it at your own risk. They're actually hazard areas, if you think about it, and they need to be updated. We need to have a plan for that. If you think about open space, and we talk a lot about open space here, there is a jewel in the Heights, the reservoir, that was touted by the administration, as I said earlier, 7 years ago, was a cover story in the Jersey Journal, and nothing has been done there. That is an opportunity not only for the Heights to escalate your property value, it is an opportunity for all of Jersey City, because it is that special, and we have a commitment to actually make that move forward. And then there's basic maintenance, and something that Mr. Malik said as far as benches and lighting and basic things in a park that are essential to kind of allow people, whether you're children, whether you're parents, whether you're seniors, to come and enjoy them. Those are things that are lacking in many of our parks today. You have an increase in graffiti in many of the parks today, and just basic maintenance is an absolute problem. So let me say this, as it relates to an open trust fund tax or essential tax that would go towards, dedicated towards parks, I am apprehensive about any additional taxes on residents today. That's pretty clear, for the reason that I think that the taxes in Jersey City are too high today. I think there are opportunities that with simple reductions as far as graft and the politics and the patronage and some of that stuff, that you could find money to maintain our parks, to make them really trophies in the communities like they should be. So that's kind of how I'm approaching the parks overall. I think there's money there, basically, whether you look at some of the vehicles that people have, or the free gas, or the insurance, that stuff adds up. It really, really does. And that sort of stuff is things that can go towards the parks. Thank you.
First of all, we have a Hudson County Open Space Trust Fund, which is, we tap into it every opportunity, and fortunately the county has done a good job. Along with the Washington Park Alliance up here, look what they've done with Washington Park just north of us. Great things. What we've done, Bayside Park Bayside Park, it's the southwest portion of our city, was a mess. We fixed that park up tremendously. There's new basketball courts, tennis courts. Used to be, there was one way in, you have to make a U-turn to get back out after you dropped your children off. We made it all one way. You can come in and come right out without making any U-turns. The wall was collapsing. We fixed that. Urshel Webb Park down around School 22. It's in great shape. We've dedicated a lot of time and effort down there and money. Further, we have Hamilton Park. Great jewel. It's down the east end, down around where the old St. Francis Hospital was. That park is a tremendous asset right now. We have on, and you can't fix all the parks at the same time. We have on our list Fisk Park up here in the Heights, Pershing Field up here in the Heights. What we've done, look at the old PJP landfill, a Superfund site, constantly underground fires burning. Those fires are finally put out. Then we addressed what was still left. It was still a dump. The gentleman who's running basically dumps for truck bodies, truck tires, trailers. That is all gone. If you're coming in the Skyway from Newark, look to your right and compare what was there 12 years ago, 5 years ago to what was there now. We're going to have a magnificent passive open space park down there rather than the disaster that was there. We did that during this administration. Further, the reservoir, 2007, we set it aside. And this school, number 28, it's going to be open space, passive space, and from April to October, there are fishing opportunities for our youngsters. It's a catch and throwback usually. It's stocked, and it's an opportunity for our youngsters to confer a little bit with nature. In fact, this school won a big award nationally, 28 school, for what the youngsters and what they did and used up in the Pershing Field Reservoir. Berry Lane Park, Southwest 17 acres. New pool down by 22 school.
Thank you,
doing all of that.